Hey, it's Valentine's Day, so why not watch a romantic movie? The Heartbreak Agency doesn't really sound like an uplifting and sweet movie, does it? But can this German production hold a surprise for us? A journalist wants to expose the charming founder of a lovelorn agency as a fake, and gets caught up in a search for his own lost capacity for love. Now, the story centers around Carl and Maria. Now, Carl's an out-of-touch man-child who seems to be stuck in the 20th century when it comes to emotions and sensibilities. He's crude, demeaning, and extremely selfish. Maria runs a therapy clinic aimed at people who are experiencing heartbreak, as the title of the movie suggests, right? Well, she's kind and compassionate, but her private life doesn't always listen to her professional advice, so she's a bit of a mess emotionally. Now, Carl writes a nasty article about Maria's business, and as a result, he gets suspended from work, with attending the heartbreak therapy sessions as the only option for him to be reinstated. Now, from there, the story is very paint by numbers, and it doesn't offer much in the way of surprises. I was, though, a little shocked at how much of the film Carl just continued to be a D-bag. I mean, I figured the trajectory would be that he's an unlikable person for some of this, then he learns the error of his ways while also falling in love with Maria or someone else in the therapy group. But I wasn't prepared to dislike him for so much of the story. I mean, it's not like he's the skinning baby type's a horrendous person. He's just arrogant to a degree that his acts influence others and cause them to be just as miserable as he is. Now, thankfully, like most rom-coms, there is a growth lesson that Carl experiences, and the transition, it didn't feel rushed. I think that's mainly because he goes so long as unlikable that he's very slowly making improvements and then beginning to endear himself to the audience. And once this happens and lessons start to be applied, the romantic element of the film starts to kick in. And I don't mean to say that the first half of the film is just devoid of any emotion. I mean, it's slowly making itself evident. And as much as I would have liked it to be hilarious, most of the sequences, they're just mildly humorous. I mean, I didn't laugh out loud until later in the film, and that was brief because just of an interaction that Carl has with a family member. Now, there's a sweetness to the storyline, even if it is sometimes obscured by the behavior and the attitudes of Carl. And I enjoyed the banter that he has with Maria. They clash often, and the annoyance that Maria has to temper down or hide for the sake of just professionality, I thought it was delivered well. She's got a lot of subtle but effective facial expressions that let us know instantly what she's thinking without uttering a line of dialogue. There are a bunch of side characters playing members of the therapy sessions, and while we get some information on them, we don't need much to have their interactions make sense. There's not really any connection made with them since the development is so thin, but with that, none of them stand out as annoying or terrible. They're just kind of there to add a bit of interest to the story. But there is one character that we get more time with, and that's Maria's daughter, Hetty. With her inclusion, the story allows for the softening of characters, and a lot of introspective growth to then take place. She's not in the film a bunch, but her presence works to improve interactions and also create scenarios that come about naturally. Now, like I said, there isn't anything new that's offered up here. If you have seen any half-decent rom-com or even just a romance, there are a lot of familiar beats that shape the story. We have a conflict between two people, with one or maybe both of them needing to learn a lesson. Once feelings begin to be felt, there's inevitably some sort of complication or miscommunication to create minor drama that forces the two apart, only for them to then see the mistake, correct it, and live happily ever after. Sometimes that's all we need. And if that is the type of movie that you're looking for, this packs it all into a 90-minute little runtime. Now, I had fun with this. The acting is solid, and there's enough humor and levity interwoven to keep this from being melodramatic or depressing. And while the supporting cast are basically strangers with very little background provided for them, they do help to round out both of the story and the characters, offering softness and charm when it's called for. The pacing, it's efficient without dragging or containing unnecessary scenes, helping to craft a routine but enjoyable romance story. Now, for me, the bar is never terribly high for rom-coms, but this one is cute, sweet, and lighthearted, contradicting the heartbreak the title conveys. There's brief sex, no nudity, a lot of profanity, and then just a little bit of violence. I give the Heartbreak Agency 3 out of 5 couches. So are there any go-to movies that you watch around Valentine's Day? I'd love to hear what you love to watch in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.